High above the dense green canopy of Panama, planes buzz quietly through the sky. From their bellies, they drop clouds of tiny, winged soldiers. Not bombs, but flies. 100 million of them every week. Each one is a genetically doomed male, part of a long-running biological operation that's been unfolding quietly for over 50 years. Their mission? To stop one of nature's most horrific parasites from clawing its way back into the north. It's a war most people have never heard of, but it's real, and it's still going. The enemy is small but brutal, a fly that doesn't just feed on flesh, it breeds in it. Known to science as Cochleomia hominivorax, or the New World screwworm, this insect targets warm-blooded animals the way a missile locks onto a target. All it takes is a tiny break in the skin, a scratch, a cut, a tick bite, and a female screwworm will land and lay hundreds of eggs. Within hours, larvae emerge and begin devouring the living tissue. Not the dead flesh, not infected wounds, healthy, living muscle. The result is agonizing. Gaping holes, infections, and in many cases, death, especially in animals. This fly was winning. Then, in a twist only mid-century science could deliver, researchers had a wild idea. What if we didn't kill the flies? What if we just made them useless? Female screwworms only mate once in their lifetime. That's it. One and done. So if they could be tricked into mating with males that were sterile, the reproductive chain would be broken. The population would crash. All that was needed was a way to raise male flies, sterilize them in bulk, and release them on a massive scale. So that's what they did. Scientists figured out how to zap screwworm pupae with just the right dose of radiation, enough to wreck their reproductive system, but not kill them or dull their mating instincts. They bred thousands, then millions of males. The first test took place on the island of Curacao, where sterile males were released again and again. Within months, screwworms were gone. Next came a larger campaign. In Texas, a facility was built that looked more like a horror movie set than a lab. Tons of meat, blood, milk, and other protein-rich slurries were used to simulate the environment these flies loved. The conditions were perfectly tuned to trick flies into reproducing like crazy, so they could be sterilized and unleashed against their own species. Planes flew missions like clockwork. Boxes of flies were doused in cologne to mask the stench. Technicians worked day and night. The campaign moved like a slow tide. Texas, then Mexico, then Guatemala. Each region cleared and declared screwworm-free required monumental effort, coordination, and funding. And then it happened. In 1988, screwworms leapt across the Atlantic, reaching Libya. For the first time, they were on African soil. If not stopped, they could sweep across the continent. It would be catastrophic. A global emergency response was launched. Flies were flown in. Ground crews inspected animals across thousands of miles. Public information campaigns explained why American flies were raining from the sky. It worked. Barely. But the message was clear. The threat was never gone. The southern Amazon proved too difficult to manage, too big, too expensive. So a compromise was made. Build a permanent barrier at the Isthmus of Panama, the narrowest point between continents, a biological firewall. Today, in a facility deep in Panama, fly production has gone digital. Instead of rotting meat, they now use a sterile, nutrient-dense paste of blood, milk, and powdered protein. Every week, sterile males are bred by the hundreds of millions, irradiated and prepared for flight. Aircraft trace mathematically precise routes, releasing flies to create a buffer zone, a living shield. Surveillance teams scour the jungle to ensure no fertile females breach the perimeter. But the flies are relentless. In 2016, they returned to Florida. Suddenly, endangered key deer were seen wandering with raw, festering wounds. Once again, Panama amped up production. Planes flew in. The outbreak was beaten back. Then came 2023. The wall cracked again. Screwworms surged through Panama and into Costa Rica, inching closer to Mexico. The emergency is real, and the outcome is still uncertain. We've held them back before. We've beaten them, region by region. But the battle isn't over, and maybe it never will be. Not as long as this parasite continues to haunt the edges of human civilization. So if you're ever in Central America, and a small plane passes low overhead, know this. It's not delivering cargo or spraying crops. It's part of a war that never makes headlines, a war fought with wings, flesh, radiation, and the quiet determination never to let this horror take hold again.